Everyone, I hope you're all well. Today I'm going to do a no makeup look using just products from Glossier. I've already prepped my skin and done my different skincare products, and I applied a generous layer of SPF, and now I'm going to get started with the Glossier products. The first one I'm going to use is the priming moisturizer. Now normally I would put this on underneath the SPF, but because it's already been sitting on my skin for a while, I want to apply a fresh layer of moisturizer because then the skin tint will sit much better on top of it. If you're working with a tinted moisturizer or a foundation or that kind of product, it's sometimes good to prime your skin first, and then it just sits really well on the skin and it doesn't sit into fine lines or gather around the nose and things like that. So this is a really nice light version. Glossier also have Priming Moisturiser Rich, which is probably what I'll use in the winter when it's a little bit colder. But when the weather's still a little bit, warmer outside, there's no need for such a rich cream. So it's always good as well just to make sure that it's like right under the eyes, because that's where I'll put the concealer afterwards. And that's sometimes where the product can kind of sit in fine lines, and that's like a dead giveaway that you're wearing makeup. So when I do apply like makeup cosmetics, the reason I personally use them is because I just want to look like the best version of myself. I don't want to look like I'm wearing makeup personally, so I like to even out my skin tone. I like to warm my skin tone up a little bit, and I like to kind of brighten under my eyes where I've got the dark circles and remove them a little bit. And something that I've found is useful in order for it to look really, really natural is if you kind of leave 20% of your perfections behind. So rather than using a concealer and like removing your under eye circles completely, if you leave just a little bit of them so that they're still slightly visible, then it looks so much more natural than if you were to take them away completely. That's what I find. And just kind of removing the bulk of your like imperfections within your skin, it will look so much better, but still really, really natural, and people wouldn't necessarily know that you've got anything on your skin in the first place. The first one I'm going to start with is the Perfecting Skin Tint in Medium. This is looking gross. I've had this for a while. It lasts for ages, and yeah, you can see that it's very well loved. This is a really, really good product. The reason why I like this so much is because it is so natural. A lot of the time when I've tried BB creams or tinted moisturizers, I've found that they are still not natural enough for me. This is super, super sheer, and because it's got a slight yellow undertone to it, I love it because it helps just remove any redness as well and just warms up my skin tone. Because I use an SPF, I find that my skin can sometimes look a tiny bit white after that, and I'm very pale anyway because I wear an SPF every day, and this just helps like warm my skin up, and I just think it looks better. So I'm going to start by applying. That's focusing. I think it's just focusing on me. I'm going to do 5 drops of that to begin with. And this is buildable. I think that was 5. I wasn't counting, to be honest. I think, this is buildable. So you can start with a little bit. I always start like in the center of my face, generally where I need the most coverage, and then just like work my way out. Quickly checking the mirror here. Make sure that I blend it all into my hair. So this is like a nice like moisturizing consistency. So I don't need to apply this with a brush or anything, but obviously you can. But I think with this, because it's so natural, you don't really need to. So yeah, I just start off with a little bit. Again, I'm not super concerned about bringing it down onto my neck, but I will just a tiny bit. But because it's like, the finish is so natural that you don't really need to. So I'm just going to kind of add a little bit, have a look, and then add a little bit more. Rather than like, if you apply too much, then it's there, and then you have to try and wipe it off, and then it becomes like a little bit complicated. So just on my forehead, and again, in the middle, around my nose, and then just work it out. And another thing I like about this is like it blends into my like facial hair, like around there really well. Like you've got to be tricky, like sometimes like if I'm using SPF or certain products that have got a lot of pigment in them, then it can be quite tricky in the beard area and it can kind of cause discoloration, which isn't always good. So I need to blend the forehead now. And also what I find is sometimes like when I first apply it, it can look like not so natural, like I can see it on the skin, but you always need to give it like a second just to like settle into the skin, and then as it like meshes with your skin and kind of absorbs a little bit, then it looks a lot more natural after like say 10-15 minutes. So the next product I'm going to apply is concealer, and this is really nice just to kind of like target specific areas where you need a little bit more coverage rather than putting it all over your face. So this is the Glossier Stretch Concealer in medium, which is my favourite concealer. I'll show you the colour here. I've also got it in light, which is nice, but because it's a little bit lighter, what that does is it brightens the under eye, which is nice to an extent, but I don't want my under eye to look too bright, otherwise I feel like it then starts to look a little bit unnatural. So I just pat this on, like more concentrating on the inner circle of my eye, the inner corner of my eye. And then up here, where I get this discoloration. These are like genetic dark circles that I've had since ever. And like I said, I'm just going to like build it. So start with a little bit, have a look, then perhaps add a little bit more if I need to. And what I really like about this concealer is that it is really wet, so that you can really like mold it with your skin. I can see why they called it stretch concealer, because it's really kind of, it is like stretchy and moldable. So that's good, like around my my nose where it gets a little bit red, and under my eyes, and then also I get like personally like little dark bits here. So I go over there. And then I'll just apply a little bit more now to the inner corner where I need it. Because I've like prepped my skin with different moisturizers and stuff, my skin does look quite shiny at the moment, but that's nothing to worry about. You can just like powder it down, but it also will just like settle into your skin as your skin like absorbs all the different products. But by really kind of like prepping your skin, it will just mean that it kind of like sits nicely, it goes evenly across the skin, and it doesn't like sit in fine lines. So I'm happy with that. So as you can see, it's kind of like concealed my under eye circles a little bit, but I haven't taken them away completely. And then by doing that, I feel like it's going to look a lot more natural. So now I'm going to go in with a little bit of powder. This is Wilder. I love the packaging, it's so cool. And then you've got this brush that comes with it as well. This is in shade light medium. So again, it's not like a white powder. And it's going to look nice and natural and just help with that healthy glow. And I tend to apply it just to my forehead, underneath, where I applied the concealer, and around my nose. It helps set the product so it will last longer on the skin, and it will just take away that shine. But like the shine that I've got here on my cheekbones, I want to keep that because that just helps with that healthy glowing look. But then it just takes away the shine in areas where you get oily and you don't want shine. So to finish off, I'm going to do a little bit of boy brow. This is it here. So what I've actually got, this is clear, but what I do is I mix it with blonde. So the blonde one's in the bathroom, I think. So I just take the brush out of the clear and put it in the blonde, and then vice versa, so they can, and I just keep doing that every time I use it, and it just mixes them together. It's a bit complicated, but the reason why I do it is because blonde's a little bit too dark for me, and the clear looks a tiny bit frosty on my eyebrows because they're so blonde. It's almost like a slightly whitish colour rather than a clear gel, but it's got tiny little fibres in it, so it really does help thicken up your eyebrows, and it comes in a blonde and then it goes down to like a dark brown shade depending on your natural eyebrow colour. It really does help define. So I get like on the outer edge it's really fine, and then like on the inner corner it's really blonde. And then the middle of my eyebrows are okay, so I don't do too much there, but it's just nice as well because it just helps like set them in place. And then just try to be as gentle as I can, and then with whatever's left I just go over the middle where mine are a little bit thicker. And then as you can see, it's just kind of groomed them a little bit without looking you know, done or anything like that. So it just like shapes them in place, gives them a tiny little bit of colour, and just like beefs them up a little bit. And then that's it. So it just starts with the priming moisturiser, just to kind of create a nice blanket of moisture on the skin, then the skin tint, and then just going with a little bit of concealer in specific areas to add that extra coverage rather than all over. Powder it down, a little bit of eyebrows, and then I'm good to go. That's it for like a no makeup look. If you've got any questions or anything like that, then you can leave me a comment down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one. Thanks for watching.